Welcome back to the village of Sarik.
Hi guys.
Hello. Once again, I'm just leaving from my house here in the village. It's just up the hill behind me. And I'm heading off on an errand to continue the adventures of getting an extension for my visa on arrival.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you.
How are you?
Hi.
Hi. Hello. Bye-bye. See you. That is, it's a Saturday today, so the regular schools are not in session, but that's a special school there, I think. The sign outside actually says it's a library, but I think they run special classes on the weekend. Something. One of many things I don't know about the village. I just have hints about. It's a few days later, a few days after that first session that I recorded on video where I was telling the story. Oh, look at this. We have a cyclist coming up uphill. Recreational cyclist, head down. First gear, pedaling hard. I'm heading in the other direction, so I have it easy right now. I was going to do this errand later in the day, but the weather is still extremely thunderstormy. And it's not actually pouring rain this minute, so I decided to head out right away, see if I can get this done and get back to the village before the rains hit for the day. Got a little window of opportunity here. Wow. So much going on in the fields because it is the rainy season. All the rice fields. I've noticed the rice is changing color, going from like a bright neon green, and a lot of yellow is starting to show up. And the yellow, of course, means that the rice is starting to ripen and you're getting closer to the harvest time. So you're suddenly going to see a huge amount of activity here with everyone harvesting rice. But I don't know when that's going to take place. When I last left off of this story, I was talking about how at the immigration office in Bukittinggi, to extend my visa on arrival, my tourist visa on arrival, they asked me to get a local sponsor. And at that time, the most obvious path forward seemed to be to get someone from the village where I'm staying to act as my sponsor. And that's what I was going to do. And friends of mine there, the house that I'm staying in belongs to friends of mine. They aren't actually here, which makes things a little bit more complicated. They live in Pekanbaru and they're sometimes in Padang, and they travel back and forth between those two cities. But they very generously offered me their home in this village as a place to stay and explore the area. And I'm eternally grateful to them for that. And it made the most sense that someone from the village could act as my sponsor. Unfortunately, that didn't really work out. The main problem is that I could not get a straight answer from immigration about what a sponsor is required to do. It sounded like if my sponsor was the hotel where I'm staying, then all they need to do is sign the form and give me a copy of their ID. Hello. To Bukit Tinggi? No, I don't. No. Yeah, from Sarik. Yeah. Okay. So if my sponsor is someone from the hotel, they don't need to come to immigration. That's what they told me. But I asked them, well, what if my sponsor was, a friend of mine or someone else? Hello. And they said, well, in that case, that sponsor would have to come to immigration for an interview.
Hello, my friend.
Hello. They would have to go to immigration with me. And I'm not entirely sure that that's true. The story seemed to change every time I asked a question. They would tell me one thing and then tell me something else, and I couldn't really make sense of it. But erring on the side of caution, when I was talking to people here who were willing to act as my sponsor, I did say there's a good chance you would have to come to immigration with me at least once. I'm back on the main road here. The traffic coming from all directions at varying speeds. It's very hard to judge when you can get across without getting killed. Anyway, I made it across. And the fact that my sponsor, a personal sponsor, would have to come with me to immigration added a wrinkle, because then, these people would have to make time in their day to do that, and we'd have to arrange a time and a schedule, and things got very complicated, particularly because I don't have time. I can't wait. I've got to get this done because my visa is expiring very soon. And as it turns out, the day my visa expires, the last day I could get any of this done, is a national holiday. So all government offices will be closed on that day, including immigration. So I lose a day because of that. I've had that experience so many times. I lose track of the holidays here. There are so many of them. And on previous trips to Sumatra, there were a couple of times I made the trip all the way out to the immigration office only to find it closed because it was an unexpected holiday that day. So I switched gears, and my goal became to find a hotel. So what I wanted to do is find a hotel, stay in the hotel for a few nights, and get someone from the hotel to sign the form for me, go to immigration, and then I can go back to the village after I get my visa extension. But that's a kind of a weird situation too, right? I can't just book any hotel. I'm up in the village. It's hard to think out here. Once you leave that village and you're down here in the real world, the level of noise is overwhelming. Anyway, I can't book the hotel, pay for it, then show up and say, oh, by the way, I need you to fill out this form and be my sponsor in Indonesia, and they say no, then I'm stuck. So I was in this really weird position where I was out looking at different hotels, and I would go up to the hotel and say, I would like to stay at your hotel, but I can only stay here if you are willing to fill out this form for me for immigration. So I will stay at your hotel if you will do this for me, and trying to get all that across with a language barrier, you can imagine. But that's what I've been doing, and I found a hotel where people were very, very friendly. The owner spoke English, well enough to communicate. And then he basically says, yeah, absolutely, no problem. You can stay here. My, hotel clerk, he will fill out the form for you, give you a copy of his ID. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm going back to this hotel. It's 4 kilometers from my village. I think I'm actually already there, which is why I pulled over to the side of the road to finish this story. So I'm going to this hotel. I'm going to book a room here, and while I'm checking in, while I'm booking the room, hopefully I can get this done where someone will be willing to fill out my forms and give me a copy of their ID. So that's what I'm about to do. I'm exhausted just telling the story. The first day after I went to immigration and they hit me with this sponsor thing, I was really kind of stressed out, and I had the whole thing. I was worried about it to the extent I couldn't sleep at night. I could not go to sleep. I just lay in bed just thinking and thinking and thinking, going over all the details about how am I going to get a sponsor? Can I do this? Can I do that? Maybe I can just leave the country. Maybe I can go to a different city, go to a different immigration office. And there's so many logistical details to work out in every option. I just could not get to sleep. I was exhausted the next day. It's just, this thing has been hanging over my head for days now, and it makes it difficult to relax. Like I want to go out and go exploring, try some of the local food, make happy videos about my experiences, but I can't switch gears. It's really hard to switch out of immigration visa extension mode. As long as this is hanging over my head, I find I can't relax. So I want to get this done, and then Monday morning go back to the immigration office, because it's the weekend, of course, makes things more complicated. So anyway, cross my fingers, go back to this hotel, and maybe they can help a poor foreigner out. We'll see what happens. All right, the next stage is almost done. The hotel where I'm booking a room is behind me. This is it's an Oyo hotel. I don't know if you can see the sign. The Oyo Mandiri guest house. And I was here before, as I said, and I spoke to the owner and the front desk clerk, and they were more than happy to help me out with being my sponsor for immigration. So I just booked a room there for a few nights, and the owner wasn't there right now, but the clerk that I knew, that I already met, he was there, and we had to struggle a little bit in terms of getting everything done, just because I'm such a dummy. I booked the room. I also need a printout of my, hotel confirmation, the reservation for the room, and the fact that it's paid for and everything. And I have all that, but I have to send it to him so that he could print it out. And he says, "Oh, just send it to me, using WhatsApp." Everybody does that. But for the life of me, I could not figure out how to do it, to go from my email account to downloading to my phone to sending it via WhatsApp to his WhatsApp account. We got all turned around, but we finally got that done. And I was feeling relatively confident, relatively good, and he was just about to sign the bottom of the form, but then I remember there's a wrinkle. For all these government forms, you have to buy a tax stamp. I think it's a tax. Basically, you have to buy this stamp, and you put the stamp on it. So I haven't found any of these stamps yet, and I was just gonna, get the forms all figured out, and then go find the stamps. But then he hesitated, and he's smarter than I am, and he remembered. I said, no, you have to get the stamp first, because I have to sign on top of the stamp. You can't sign separate from the stamp. You got to buy the stamp first. Oh, there's a stationery store. And I think you can get these at stationery stores. But how in the world I'm going to explain to this person? Boy, I really hate these little vans here that pick people up. There's so many of them on this road, and they tend to get in the way. So anyway, I'm going to try and see if I can get a stamp here. Okay. Success of a sort. I found this little stationery shop here. It is the busiest tiny stationery shop in the entire world. Customers come pouring in and out of this place. It's crazy. But this is what the stamps look like. They look like little postage stamps, basically. So they're 10,000 rupiah each, and you pay, I think, you pay 12,000 to get the 10,000 stamp. But of course, they're not. There's no glue on them. You can't lick them and stamp them. So then you have to buy a glue stick of some kind. So I bought a glue stick. And since I was here, I thought I might as well just make more photocopies of everything. You know, you can never have too many photocopies. But while I've been here, I think I've lost a year off my life. Just the insanity of the traffic. This is a market area, and it gets so busy. Luckily, I didn't have to go through the market to find that stationery store. I found one really early. Funny thing is, I asked Agus, he's my new sponsor. I asked Agus from the Mandiri guest house, where can I buy one of these stamps? I figured there'd be like a place right across the road or something. It's a pretty simple thing to do. But as often happens, he made it into a much more complicated request than I had intended. He got onto Google Maps. Yikes. On my phone, he started typing things in, like trying to figure out what to call this stamp, where to get it. He's finding all these stores on Google Maps. And and then he realizes he's not even in Indonesia anymore. Google Maps had sent him to other countries. And he's like, whoa, no, that's not right. Anyway, he couldn't figure anything out, and I finally says, no, don't worry about it. I seem to know more about these stamps than he did, and I knew you could just get them at any stationery store. So, as I said, I just rode down this road until I saw a stationery store. So, now I've got to go back to the hotel. Hopefully Agus is still there. Get out my new, I tried to get like a Yoo-hoo like dry glue stick, but they don't seem to sell those here. So I have this bottle of liquid glue, probably with a sponge on the top. But I bought extra stamps in case I screw up. So I have some backups. Okay, Mandiri Hotel, where are you? The funny thing is, I may not end up even staying in the hotel. It's about 4 kilometers from my house in the village. I only need to stay at the hotel in order to get, the booking confirmation. Hello. And a sponsor, but there's no need for me personally to even stay at the hotel. I've got a perfectly comfortable, much better place to stay in the village, so I don't actually have to ever come back here. I probably will though, because I still don't have any access to Wi-Fi in the village. So I might come down here, stay here for 3 nights and use their Wi-Fi to do a bunch of stuff online. Okay, is this Oyo? Yeah, Oyo 2199. I didn't want to deal with an Oyo hotel. I really didn't. But, and after I booked this room online, I got all kinds of weird email messages from Oyo. I didn't understand any of them, but all the messages said something about, paying when you get to the hotel, all this kind of stuff. And yet they were also sending me, confirmation for the room because, I'd already paid for it. So I don't know what Oyo is doing. It's just a ridiculously disorganized company. I would never stay. I wouldn't recommend anyone to stay at an Oyo hotel unless you have like special circumstances. I mean, if you show up and pay at the door, like at the desk, I'm sure it's a perfectly fine hotel, but I wouldn't go through Oyo to book the room. That's just asking for trouble. All right, I got to go in and get Agus to sign the stamp. Success, I think. As far as I can tell, I have everything done. So now all that remains is to pack up all the documents I have and go to immigration on Monday morning, hand over the package, and see what happens. It's cutting it a little bit close, which is unfortunate because Monday is 2 days before my visa expires, which is too late. You're supposed to go in a week in advance, which I did, but then they sent me away. And of course, the day that my visa expires, as I said, is a national holiday. So immigration office is going to be closed on that day. So I've got to get everything done before that day. And as far as I can tell, I've dotted all the I's, I've crossed all the T's, I've done everything I can think of. So I came back here with the stamp and I got out my glue stick. And as I suspected, it was like, it's just a liquid glue. And it's not really the best for putting on a stamp because then everything is wet and soggy. And then you try to sign over top of it and it just can tear into the stamp because it's all wet from glue. And that's why I wanted kind of a dry Yoo-hoo glue stick, but I couldn't find anything like that. But anyway, I glued it down as best I could. I waited for it to dry as best I could. And then Agus, who works here at the hotel, he was up cleaning rooms, and I just waited a few minutes, which I was glad to do because I needed to calm down, to be honest. And I wanted the glue to dry a little bit. And then he signed it very professionally, dated it very professionally, and then he's even taken, like they have an actual official hotel stamp. that he stamped everything. You know, it was like stamp, stamp, stamp. He double stamped, he triple stamped. So yeah, very helpful. So I'm here in the lobby of the Mandiri guest house. I'll show you the sign here from inside the lobby. So there's the name of the place, Mandiri. And then there's the front desk, and as you can see, it's an Oyo branded hotel. When I was here the first time, the owner pointed out that they sell homemade honey. He probably has a family connection to this honey processing place. 1 kilogram of honey inside every one of these bottles, apparently. So this may or may not be my home starting tomorrow night for 2 or 3 nights or something like that. There's the area outside of the hotel. That's the main road going from Bukit Tinggi to Padang. And you can just see maybe, I know you can maybe, but my volcano is out in that direction. So I have to ride over there back to my home now. And I want to beat the rain. I've been lucky so far. It hasn't started to rain yet. So I got to get a move on. If I have anything else to say about this story, I'll tell the rest of the story as I ride my bike. Just leaving from the Mandiri guest house and trying to get across this road. Oh man, I can't wait to get off this highway. Traffic is a bit much, to put it mildly. Okay, I think, well, I keep thinking there's an opening, but the really weird thing is that everybody drives at different speeds. That always throws me. Okay, here we go. The thing is, I get used to this idea, at least maybe in my lifetime, that traffic moves at the same speed. But I'll see traffic here, and I think, oh, here's an opening, and I'm just about to go to time it for that opening, but then it turns out that there's some sort of a vehicle moving at half the speed of everybody else, and someone else is moving at twice the speed of everybody else, and the opening just isn't there. You thought it was there, but it's not actually there. So it's, yeah, you really have to be careful trying to judge when an opening shows up. I'm fine, thank you. How are you? And while I was waiting there, a huge bus pulled out to pass an equally huge truck, and they got into like a dueling situation. Neither one wanted to give space, and looked like it was going to be a head-on collision. They both hit these loud musical horns. It was just craziness, but luckily there was no actual collision. Everybody ahead and around them all had to hit the brakes. I have no idea what this person is doing. I see a lot of people like that are looking for a place to park or looking for, and they just basically take over most of the lane and just meander along, blocking traffic. Oh my gosh. I think that mirror nearly took my head off. I gotta get out of here. The Planet Doug message to cyclists around the world. If you're thinking of bike touring in Sumatra, my message is don't. Just don't do it. Traffic is just way too much here. Of course, there's always a count your blessings way of looking at things. I'm having to jump through some hoops to get this visa extension. It's not as easy as I had hoped. Certainly taking quite a bit more time than I expected. But honestly, it really hasn't been that hard. it just takes time, and then the information is always a little bit vague. You're not sure what's going on or why you're doing this. I mean, in the end, what I'm getting from Agus at the guest house, at the hotel, he's basically saying, yes, Doug Nienhuis from Canada is a guest at our hotel. That's basically the intention of the form. And if that's what it was, that'd be perfectly fine. You go to immigration, they give you a form for your hotel, and at the hotel, they sign it, and it says, I hereby certify that Doug Nienhuis has booked a room at our hotel. Simple. But that's not the form they give you. The form they give you is, a personal, legal, financial sponsorship form, that this person who signed the form is responsible for me and everything I do while I'm in Indonesia, including changing my address. And of course, that's nobody wants to sign a form like that. The form just doesn't suit the situation. Anyway, I seem to have gotten it done. We'll find out. And if they don't accept it on Monday, then I will hop on a flight, I guess. I have 2 days to fly out of the country if they won't give me the visa extension. So I guess that's what I'll do. But in terms of counting your blessings, I was also thinking about I just pulled over. Too many trucks right now. I've been watching these YouTube videos from a young Dutch guy who set off to ride a bike around the world. And I got interested in his videos because I saw that he went through Egypt, Sudan, and Indonesia when he started his Africa portion. And I'm always very interested to hear the stories of anyone who goes to Ethiopia. But man, this poor guy, oh man. Going through Egypt, of course, he had all the usual problems. They have this thing in Egypt where they're worried about tourists getting kidnapped or attacked. They've had a few very high-profile instances of that in Egypt, and it really hurts their tourism industry badly for years when this happens. So now when you show up there on a bicycle and you think you're going to be riding your bike down the Nile River to the Sudan, you end up with a police escort, and there's almost no escaping it. These police escort vehicles will stick to you like glue, and if you don't have a police escort, you run into these checkpoints. They won't let you pass. But of course, it's all a little bit confusing and irregular. Sometimes the police escort will disappear. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're waiting for you, sometimes they're not. I mean, it's all just crazy and chaotic. And cyclists end up playing this cat and mouse game where they're trying to get away from their police escort, trying to escape. But it's just a real problem. Hello. Hi. And it tends to ruin the experience of cycling through Egypt because you have no freedom at all. You can't do anything. The police just follow you everywhere you go and monitor everything you do and dictate where you can stay and getting food for you. And yeah, it's just not the experience a cyclist is looking for. Hello. And then he gets to Sudan, and Sudan is a challenge for anybody on this planet, whether you're cycling or backpacking. You know, Sudan is not exactly on the tourist trail, so it's a hard place to, hard place to visit for anybody, even getting visas and things like that. He gets there and he gets robbed. as he told the story. He was in some sort of a restaurant or cafe. He put his bag beside him, and he wasn't paying attention to it. His mistake, of course. And then next time he looked, his bag was gone. Had his passport, all his ID, all his money, all his bank cards. You know, everything was gone. Oh, fried chicken outlet. I'm gonna pick up some fried chicken and rice for lunch and enjoy that back at the village. Ooh. All right, I have my fried chicken lunch. And I have just a kilometer left maybe on this road before I can get back to the countryside. Wow. So, yeah, I was talking about the Dutch cyclist and how he got robbed in the Sudan. Man, I was watching that video. When I heard that, my heart just sank. Can you imagine? Oh, he was having such a difficult, stressful, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally experience getting through, you know, Egypt and now the Sudan. And in the middle of that, he gets robbed. I mean, it'd be one thing, say you were robbed in Thailand or the Philippines or here in Indonesia, you know, be terrible, but you know, you can sort of get things done here. But you're in the Sudan, right? Now what do you do? And the beginning of his next video, he actually said he was there for 5 months getting this sorted out. And that seemed like a very long time. It's like, wow, you stayed in the Sudan for 5 months. That's a long time. But then later on, he told the same story, but then he said 5 weeks. So, hello. So it took him 5 weeks in Khartoum, you know, to get a new passport. And then, of course, once you have a new passport, that's just the beginning of your troubles because you have no stamps in it. There's no history of you entering the country. And so he's got to go back to immigrations all over the place and explain to them what happened. I mean, my mind boggles at what he probably went through to get all of this sorted out. Get new bank cards, you know, cancel his bank cards and credit cards and have everything shipped to the Sudan, all the replacement ones, while getting in. Oh, I can't even think about it. It's too much. But he got through all of that, and then he couldn't cycle into Ethiopia because the border between the Sudan and Ethiopia is often closed, political unrest. So the border was closed, I guess. Hello. And yeah, so he had to fly, and he flew to Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia, and then he started cycling from there. And he was very much into camping out. He spent almost all his nights, seemed like, in his video anyway, he never showed the inside of a hotel ever. I'm sure he stayed in hotels, but he never recorded any of that experience. So all you saw in the videos was video of him camping. And there he is. He met up with two other cyclists, and they were cycling together, the three of them, out of Addis Ababa. But then somehow they got separated. I can't remember why at this point. And they had to camp out separately. So this guy, he was camping out, and he discovered, as I'm well aware from my own trip to Ethiopia, that through years and years and years of international aid programs, the people have just gotten used to people giving them things. So what they would do to me, it was a real problem for me in Ethiopia, where I'd be sitting inside, you know, just a cheap little room inside a village somewhere, and I couldn't really lock the door thing. These were not hotels. They were like you know, very rough places, and it's not like you could lock your door very securely. But anyway, the door to my room would fly open, and all these people would come in, and they just start roaming around my room, just picking things up, opening bags, looking for stuff that they wanted, and then they'd hold it in the air and turn to me and say, "Give me, give me, give me," and they would try to take all this stuff and go out the door, and I'd have to stop them. And if I was sitting outside in a cafe, you know, well, again, I use all these words like cafe, but there was no cafes out there in the Ethiopian countryside. This was, you know, just a little spot, side of the road, where you could get a cup of tea or something. And so I would often be sitting out there, writing in my journal, looking at my maps, planning my day, sitting out in public, and then people would come over to me, and I'd be writing with a pen in a notebook, and people would just come up to me, pull the pen out of my fingers, and walk away. So give me, and they would just take my pen. They would want to take my notebook, take my net maps. So I knew what was coming. This guy was telling the story, and there he is camping in the countryside in Ethiopia for the first night, and all these people crowded around to watch. And he was putting up his tent, and of course all his bags were unattended. And all the men that gathered to watch him put up his tent, they just started opening his bags and taking things out. So they took his, like, he had a drone. They took his drone controller and chargers and batteries, things like that, and basically stole all this stuff. He didn't tell the story in any detail, but it sounds like they eventually came back and they said that they would return his stuff, but he would have to pay them for it. So they were basically extorting money from him. And his two friends, I don't know much about them, a young man and a young woman, also cycling, and they were camping out. And apparently they experienced the world famous Ethiopian stoning, and a lot of people gathered around them, children in particular, in my experience, and just started throwing rocks at them, which happened to me all the time in Ethiopia. And I guess it was pretty bad for them, you know, where they actually were bruised and cut. They were hit with so many rocks on one night. So I don't know what the heck happened in that scene. I mean, I was hit by rocks, but it was while I was cycling. You know, I'd be cycling past a farmer's field, and all the children in the village would gather at the side of the road, and they make a game out of throwing rocks at me. But it sounded like these two people were sort of set upon by a crowd, you know, like a real stoning or something. Anyway, what I'm saying is, my experience just having to get a little form filled out with a stamp, you know, a bit annoying, but it's nothing. Though, nothing compared to, you know, the experiences of someone like this poor Dutch fellow, like I said, mainly in the Sudan, losing his passport, all his bank cards, all his money, everything, all at once. Wow, I think I would just, I don't know, I would go home, maybe. I was like, okay, I've had enough. The world doesn't want me doing what I'm doing, clearly, so I guess I'll just stop what I'm doing and I'll go home. It's probably, that would be the sane reaction. But yeah, he fixed everything and kept on going. And so far, things have worked out very well today. Any number of things could have gone wrong. As I said, I made contact earlier with the owner and the front desk clerk at this hotel. We made all these arrangements. But there was no guarantee that these arrangements would hold. So I was very happy to go back to the hotel, and the owner wasn't there, which was unfortunate. But the clerk, Agus, great guy, very helpful, very organized too, which I appreciated. And he remembered the agreement that the owner of the hotel, his boss, had come to, because he was the boss, and he said, yeah, we'll help you out, no problem, you know, just when you check into our hotel, when you book a room here, you know, we'll fill out the forms for you, don't worry about it. And the hotel clerk, he remembered that, he remembered me, and we got it all done. And I'm back in the countryside. Oh, so nice. I can see Sungai Pua and a little bit of Sarik. And on top of all that, the rain has stayed away. It's just dark, dark clouds everywhere, but the rain hasn't started yet. And I have a fried chicken lunch. Yeah, I'm gonna stop off at a little shop here, get some cold soy milk, and enjoy a nice lunch. Now we just gather up all the good luck forces of the universe and try to focus them on Monday morning at the dreaded immigration office. I get so many smiles here, it's incredible. Everyone that goes by on a scooter. There's a man and a woman just went by, and the woman turned to look at me as they went away. Just gave me a huge smile as they rode away. Really nice. The one thing about staying here in the village, in the countryside, and I guess maybe this time of year, it's very damp. Nothing ever dries. So I do have a little bathroom there, you know, with a bucket bath. So I take these bucket bath showers, use a towel, you know, to dry off. And my towels just get so stinky so fast because nothing ever dries out. Yeah, everything is kind of clammy and wet to the touch. And that's never good for electronics. So my GoPro right now, I can see the inside is filled with moisture. It was never out in the rain, but there's condensation all through the inside of it. The screen has a big distortion on it. It's from moisture on the inside. That's just because it's so humid here. So much water in the air, on the ground, everywhere. Hello. So in fact, staying in the Mandiri hotel for 2 or 3 nights, kind of a nice change, to be honest. And I'll take advantage of their Wi-Fi while I'm staying there. And not to go looking for trouble, but the one thing that I'm still concerned about is that immigration, both in Pekanbaru and here in Bukittinggi, they're really focused on the number of nights that you're booked into any particular hotel at any particular time. So I don't know why they look at those numbers so carefully, because they must know by now that tourists, they change hotels. If they're in Indonesia for 60 days, they could stay in 20 to 30 different hotels. You know, you keep moving and you stay in different places. So if you show up at immigration with your most recent hotel reservation, it's going to be for however many nights you think it's going to take to get the visa extension. It could be you might have reserved a room for 1 night or 2 nights or 3 nights, but all that reservation is saying is this is where I'm staying tonight. But immigration seems to want to see more nights than that. You know, they want to know, where are you living? And they look at my hotel reservation and say, but you're only staying here for 3 nights. So you're not living there, you're only staying there so where are you staying? I'm like, well, I stay in hotels. I keep moving from hotel to hotel, right? That's normal. But that seems to be a problem. I don't understand it. So I booked this hotel for 3 nights. And if they give me a hard time about that, I'll just say, well, you know, when the 3 nights are up, I can book more nights. Because for all I know, you're not even going to give me the visa extension and I have to leave the country. So why pay for more than that in advance, you know? Anyway, I don't want to make up problems where the problems don't exist yet. I have to see what happens Monday morning. Well, I'm back home and so happy to be here. Still can be a busy road, but a lot less busy than that highway I was on. Oh. And just as I say that, I hit a big patch of traffic. Again, as I said, everything moves at different speeds. It's so hard to judge when it's safe to go. Oh, and a bunch more coming up behind me. I'm trying to turn right across the road, but it's so hard to do. Yeah. Sumatra, not a cycling paradise. That is for sure. Ay, ay, ay. Let me get out of here. So I've got my drink, soya milk. I had a heck of a time opening this the first time I bought it. Like getting this lid off was almost impossible. And then I bought another one and I realized they give you a tooth in the lid. There's a real sharp, pointy tooth there. And you're supposed to stick that in and then move it around in a circle. So it gives you your own little bottle opener. Oh, cold drinks. Nothing like cold drinks. And this, by the way, is the glue stick that I bought. Greeble glue stick. Very colorful. All right.